Hi and welcome. My name is Peter Vaughan. What I'm going to do here today and in a series is capture on video some of the things that I do that will maybe help you in this time of crisis and in the future, based on what's going on today in the world and regarding 2020. Just prior to 2020 and carrying on ahead. Now, a lot of people see my stuff on Facebook and I get quite involved with research of what's going on. So I've got a series here of things I'm going to be talking about. Who am I? Who is Peter Vaughan? I'm going to be talking about COVID-19 and the year 2020. I'm going to be talking about 5G and the EMF waves, standing for electromagnetic fields. I'm going to be talking about your future, human engineering, and there's a reason for that. Is part of the necessary aspect of learning about yourself and how it works. Metrology and thinking. We think with letters in the alphabet, put together to form words, to form sentences, so we can convey information from one person to another. Numerology translation. We have two languages. We have alphabets and we have numericals. So if I was to discuss in America, the date 9/11, two numbers 9/11, that involves towers coming down. So language can be used in both words and numbers. Telling the time, it's in numbers. Traffic license, social security numbers, all those things are numbers. So there's a language translation and a combination where they both come together. Down here I'm talking about health and the organs. Why? Because I'm going to be talking about how COVID-19 in its undescribed state at the moment, what it actually is and does inside the body to create genetic material mixed up with your white cells, your white blood cells, and your immune system, and how you get toxins taken by the cell to the immune system, which then gets rid of them in the form of mucus and gunk in the lung, which is what they're testing for, genetic material and RNA, which are a bit deep subjects, but I'll talk about it on the surface so you get a better understanding of it. And down here, conspiracy exposure. What is a conspiracy and what is conspiracy theory? A conspiracy generally means that somebody is doing and planning something to damage or hurt somebody else for personal gain. They do it as like an act of terrorism, perhaps. So I'll be talking about that. And because it doesn't make sense, people start to think this doesn't make sense and they start to theorize why it doesn't by putting two and two together. So I'll be discussing that as a separate take. Over here, my background. I have a technical background. I'm an electrician. I've been an electrician for over 40 years, maybe 43, 45 or something like that. I've worked in power generation, so I understand a lot about the generation of electromotive force, and I understand how electrical theory, vibrations, EMF waves work. I understand that. I'm going to show you that in a moment with a little experiment I've got for you to see. I've been in the military, so I understand systems, organisation, and maybe some of the things that we don't get taught when we're at school. Ambulance. Whilst I was in electrical, for a few years I was at a power station, and that was a bit remote, along with an oil refinery up at a place called Marsden and Ruakaka, which are in the North Island. And there they needed remote, or should I say ambulance people, which I volunteered for, and we had week on and week off roughly, or it might have been every 2 weeks, 10 days on or 10 days off, where you were literally looking after hundreds of people in a remote area to take them to their base hospital. And I learned a lot there through ambulance and did a lot of helping people survive and taking care of those that did not. Soil science. I studied soil science because I created fertilizers out of waste. Waste seafood, that's the guts, fish and scales of fish. I learned how to break things down organically. I did not want to use chemicals, so what I did was I thought there's got to be a way. So I followed the natural digestive system that we all have, and guess what? I overcame the problem without the use of chemicals, and I have fertilizers which I made, which anyone can use now in their soils, and they're better for the ground. Why? Because they're made of natural stuff, not chemically induced stuff like superphosphates and ureas, which, by the way, is what makes our streams go brown and our erosion. It's got nothing to do with the animals on the surface at all. Karate was my subject. I enjoyed sport. I like the individual sports, and when I came out of the army I enjoyed shooting, I enjoyed swimming. I've always liked swimming, but underwater, funnily enough, just purely underwater to test how long I could go without taking a breath. And I used to win quite a bit when I was doing that. And karate, I took that up because Bruce Lee impressed me when I was 17 or thereabouts, and I did martial arts or Chidokan karate for many, many years. And it's something that I've enjoyed, and it linked up with the discipline that you get in the military and how to respect other people at the same time. So if you're really good at karate, you're really a pacifist. It's just fun stuff to do. I've been on television, 2 TV shows. They were both top hits. The one I did most in with profiling was where I would indicate what happened to a person in their past, never having met them before, and very, very simple information we could get from them to extrapolate from them, names and birth dates as far as I was concerned, and there was a panel. And we had to figure out an event that took place in their past and try and work it out. I was up against astrologers and clairvoyants and tarot readers and phrenologists and aura readers, psychics per se, and I used name and number analysis, and I'll even point out to where you can go and find that information to have a look for yourself. In fact, if you do go to this particular website, www.petervaughan.net, it's all one word. And when you go there, go to the part at the top of the bar on your screen which says Get Your Profile. Get Your Profile Now, I think it says. And if you go into that particular link, you'll go down and you'll see a couple of video clips. And this is when I did television work. And you'll see how I operated on the screen then. Radio. In New Zealand, I was once asked to go on radio at the midnight hour and talk about my stuff, because one of the announcers had been to me for a consultation and was so blown away by it, he wanted me on his show. So imagine that, you're in a country and you hit the midnight hour, and it went through to 6 AM, that particular show that he had in the morning. And when we got on and I started talking, during the course of the show, the telecommunications company in the country called the station and said, "What's going on?" The entire nation was shut down. They could not get phone calls going anywhere because the audience was so interested in what I was talking about. So that was a real, I'll call it a mark-up for success for me. So, and in teaching, what do I teach? I teach this. I teach people about themselves because it's the most fascinating thing I've ever come across. And I've spent 40 years of this year now doing it. So if you look back in your life and you said, would I change anything? Sometimes you would, but most of the time you might say, well, I enjoyed all of that. But I can highlight things in your past without even knowing you. I could even put you online and we could be talking on a computer and you telling me stuff about your name and your birth date, and I will go back into your past and say this happened, and this happened at these times. And people are floored how I do it. I teach that. So it's not anything that's scary or spooky, it's actually a science. Hence my technical side of life. I need facts and figures. So when I get down to talking about COVID and the health of your organs and conspiracy exposure, I think you're going to find this series fascinating. So I'm Peter Vaughan. I live in New Zealand. I live in the Auckland region, and this was an image we developed once when I did a show at a museum, and we had big banners put up, and people came, and it was an evening, a function, and the museum became an event centre for the night. It was fantastic, and that was part of the design I put up there. So that's the real me, looking tough and heavy, but normally I'm quite sweet and kind. So thank you for looking at that. That's who I am. Peter Vaughan, a Kiwi, a New Zealander, living down the South Pacific, helping you now understand more about yourself and about what's happening. Because 2020, I predicted it on the 20th of October is when I put on this. If you go to that site and go down to find the stories where I've got gold bullion, you can see the gold bullion in the picture, and you read through that and you'll see where I talk about international events, health, financial crash, all that sort of stuff is in there. How did I know that? That's what I teach. Looking forward to going through the next ones here with you now. So stay tuned and watch for the next clip. Peter Vaughan signing out for this one. Catch you in the next clip.